welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan. That over there is Izzy Gutierrez. We are live from Miami. And when I say live, I mean we recorded it live. We didn't pre-tape ourselves recording and then hand it in.
Live at all.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
You know what's not live at all either? The Denver Nuggets championship chances. That's right. I'm putting them in the dirt. The Nuggets won up the Memphis Grizzlies yesterday morning by firing head coach Michael Malone and GM Calvin Booth with 3 games remaining in the regular season. ESPN reporting was that there was a Cold War between the coaches. This is from our good friend Om Young-Masuk. Quote, when the Nuggets entered the season, sources told ESPN that there was a growing tension between Malone and Booth that grew into a, quote, Cold War. Josh Kroenke called the timing of the decision unfortunate, but hopes the changes may spark something in the team heading into the playoffs. Could this firing actually increase the chances of a Nuggets title this year, Izzy?
You see, here's how I think of it, right? So you look at it as they basically exhausted the voice of Mike Malone, right? The message that he gives across, like, hey, when things are going wrong, listen to coach. Okay, we'll try that. Yeah, that's going to work. That is already out the window, right? We've exhausted everything. We don't, and he's already, he's difficult to listen to, right? He's grating at times. He can weigh on you.
Yeah.
And so you're saying to yourself, all right, so we're not going to get any better. He's not going to fix the problem here. If you get rid of him and you get rid of the GM and say, hey, we're going to wash our hands of this next year, we'll start anew. But right now, it's on you guys. It's on the players. It's on the potential MVP, the 3-time MVP. And if there's any issues, we're going to run what you guys think we're going to run. We should run. If there's any issues, it's on you guys. And we all know that. And they play hard. And they know because of Joker, if he is involved, if he is, hands-on with his leadership, then they know exactly how to win. And so I think that could be not to say I thought they could have won a title with Michael Malone, but if you're going to give them the best chance of doing it without him, that's sort of the formula there.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it at all, man.
You let me go through the whole thing.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to let you play it out. I'll listen to you. I'll give you the old college try, and then at the end, I'll dismiss you, having made up my mind already. Number one, I don't think Nikola Jokic is that kind of guy. I think he's a lead by example kind of guy. But in terms of being that hands-on with everybody, vocal, all the time, not in moments and spots, but all the time. No. Number two, this is so weird because usually when the GM and the coach get fired together, it's because they were lockstep. These guys were on opposite ends. And the answer was get rid of all of them. It doesn't make sense. Either they weren't winning because Michael Malone wasn't good enough at coaching up some of these players, or they weren't winning because Calvin Booth wasn't good at giving Michael Malone the players needed to win and be competitive, right? The thing that's not being said through all this is that Jokic has missed some time with injury, which isn't the norm. Jamal Murray has missed a lot of time with injury, which has sadly become kind of the norm. Aaron Gordon missed a lot of time with injury. So is this a case of, hey, Michael Malone's voice isn't being heard, or he just hasn't had his best players and he's had to rely on some unreliable players? And that brings me to my next point, Izzy. I'm going to ask you this. Who is upset with Michael Malone? If you sit there and you're Josh Kroenke and you say, hey, Michael Malone's not the answer. These guys have tuned out. Who are they? Who are the guys who are the guys that Michael Malone's talking about that they don't watch film and don't care?
Well, I think what you're really asking is who isn't it, right? Because is it Nikola Jokic?
I don't think it's
right.
Jokic.
It doesn't seem like it. Is it? Who would be next in line? It would have to be Jamal, right?
I don't think it's
is
Jamal.
Is it Jamal?
Murray.
Probably not.
Right.
So then I guess you can throw in Aaron Gordon in that list as a guy who's, high up there and maybe has some say in the organization.
Yep.
After that, are you listening to anybody if they're complaining to that level?
I wish Michael Porter Jr. would walk into my office complaining about this. Get your ass up out of here, man.
Well, here's the thing. I want to play this clip because Michael Malone had this on the post-game podium after they lost to Portland recently, and he had this to say, and it's been circulating a lot since the firing.
It was a brutally honest message, and the guys that are fully won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film.
So here's my tipping point on that, right? If I'm Michael Porter Jr., if I'm anybody else, Russell Westbrook is probably not on that list, but if I'm any of those folks who think that I might be the guy that he said is full of shit, like I'm one of those guys, then I'm not just complaining to management. I'm going around the room and say, hey, did you think he was talking about you too? Because that's some shit. And if it's just like, if he's sitting there talking to Joker and talking to Jamal and the rest of us are in a different bubble over here, that's not how you run a team. And so maybe there was enough angst, enough anger that management was just like, well, they're clearly not going to listen to him now.
This is what I know about Michael Malone. If he said it there, that means he's already said it to their face.
And maybe it was too much.
Right? And look, and maybe sometimes people are full of shit.
No,
right? And that is an old NBA adage. I don't want to make this seem a generational thing, but the old, man, coach tripping. The number of NBA players, the coach had just let me, man, I would have been all-star too. There's so many guys walking around truly believing that they've been aggrieved. But here's the crazy part. A lot of people are like, what does that mean? They don't watch film.
Right.
And we have to sit them down and watch film. So every NBA team is different, but for the most part, there's film that you watch as a team together, right? And then there's film that you're supposed to watch on your own. And
homework, if you will.
Homework. It's exactly that. It's homework, right? A lot of it is your film. So to see where you are needing improvement in things, hey, we want you to be all the way into the deep corner. You're over here shallow. You're almost up at the nipple, as they call it, at the 3-point line. We want you all the way deep corner because that messes up the spacing. Hey, when the ball's over here, I need you to come all the way over and then close out after that as it starts to move. Like all these little things, they're showing it to you on tape. So that you see what good behavior is and bad behavior is. The other tape that they're showing you is a lot of the team stuff, right? Like how we want to play in general. And then finally, there's always opponent tape. I got into this with Dan Batard earlier today, where he said, well, it's a different generation and you can't do this and you can't do that. Like, well, no, because the standards have remained the same to be excellent. To win this thing, the standards are the same. The work is the same. The discipline is the same. Now, if you want to be a middling-ass team, sure, we can skate on some of these things. But I see Michael Malone as a guy who had a standard and was asking guys to uphold his standard. And for whatever reason, some of them weren't. And again, when it gets to that point, Izzy, where I'm saying that in a press conference to the world, that means I've said it until I've been exhausted behind the scenes and haven't gotten the change we were looking for.
I just want to clarify one thing. Where's the nipple?
It's
not where you would think it would be, which would be on the front, right? No. Right on the end.
The nipple is where the above the break three turns into a corner three. It's a straight line in the corner, and then it's above the break right there. That point right there, they call that the nipple.
Okay, so left nipple, right nipple. Not where a nipple would be on the human anatomy in any way.
Well, it's not. You're thinking of the 3-point line as one big boob,
right?
And it's really your chest.
Or chest, just
it's one big chest. Left nipple, right nipple.
Okay. Well, look, I when you say that that he's already said that in private, and he's then why? So we're just waiting another couple of weeks. Like it felt like maybe we're doing revisionist history here. Maybe that didn't have much to do with the firing. Maybe they decided it, a few weeks earlier, and they were like, well, we'll just wait till the end of the season, and then couldn't wait any longer. But it feels like you mentioned that Nikola Jokic is not a hands-on type of leader, but you could see it's been feeling like they have been showing signs of issues with the actual coaching. Like there's this one clip circulating of Nico basically just demonstrative talking about a play. You can tell he's talking about motion and activity and you can tell by his face, it's just like, it's not that hard. We should do this. Right. And so it's possible that they went to him and been like, hey, we're not asking you whether we should get rid of the coach. We're just asking you, hey, do you think this and this and this is a problem? You, if you didn't have him there, would be able to communicate that properly to your teammates.
I think no one, least of all Michael Malone, is getting in the way of Nikola Jokic communicating anything to anybody. I think we all accept this guy's brilliant and most of what he says is right. It's funny, I know the clip you're talking about. You know how I interpreted it is him complaining, these guys aren't moving. These guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do. It's hard for me to operate when guys are just standing still. So again, to me, look, every NBA coach that I know has a very simple philosophy. It's my job to come up with the game plan. It's your job to execute the game plan. If we execute my game plan to a T and it sucks, my bad. Okay, I can take a step back. I can accept that wasn't a good idea and it's my fault. But if we never executed to begin with, that's your fault, right? And so that's what, if anything, Michael Malone is saying is like, look, you guys aren't doing what I'm asking you to do, which, by the way, comes back to the root of the Cold War. Because Michael Malone wants vets. Why does he want vets? Because vets tend to execute more than young players do, right? They tend to understand that more than young players do. And tend to be more prepared, tend to understand the rigors and the requirements, right? Remember, this team is 2 years removed from a championship, but there's a lot of faces it's missing.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the young guys, Brown, Peyton Watson, yeah, they were there for the championship, but a lot of these guys weren't. And so there's a gap in between knowing what it takes to be a championship team and not knowing and thinking that coach is just tripping.
Right.
But another theory that's been floated out there, Izzy, is that the Nuggets want David Adelman, who got promoted to interim head coach, to be their next head coach. And they were worried he was going to get poached in the offseason had they waited, right? So
for those who don't know, that's Rick Adelman's son.
That is Rick Adelman's son, and he is he's been a long-time assistant coach in this league. In Minnesota, I believe he also worked in Houston as well. And so he's been around the block. This isn't like, it's not like the Memphis situation where there's a relative unknown. This is a guy who's been known and has been, talked about, albeit a little lightly, about head coaching positions around the league.
Right.
This is my problem with this, right? You're not putting him in a position to be successful right now, right? With 3 games to go, with the team basically one loss away from being in the 7 or 8 seed even, right? That's an incredible amount of pressure for someone who's never been a head coach in this league. You're giving him zero margin for error to make any sorts of mistakes, right? And there is always a learning curve with this. And wherever they end up, he's going to have to go lock wits with someone else who's presumably been doing this for quite a while.
As somebody who came onto this ship at a certain point, I felt no pressure to make this program something it wasn't. I already know this is a great program. I can just step in here, do what I do at my highest level, and hopefully everything will work out. But I'm not going to feel pressure if things don't work out. And that's kind of where, if I'm management and I'll tell these players, look, we know we're putting this dude in a terrible position. We are not judging him based on this next week. We're certainly not judging him on what we do in the playoffs. If we happen to find a good mode and just ride a wave into the Western Conference Finals or something like that, heck, that's a great way to start your coaching career. And then you go into the next.
So you think that there's zero pressure?
I think there should be. I think you lay it out all on the table. You don't just start and be like, all right, let's see what's going to happen. You do exactly as you said and point out to them, hey, this is not a great position for Mr. Adelman here. So let's keep things realistic, keep things in proper perspective. And we reassess after more time, not after just this little run.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like the episode of Fresh Prince where they're in the golf tournament and Carlton is playing with Uncle Phil and they have to beat this other father-son duo.
I vaguely remember that one.
Well, I'll set it up for you. There's one shot to go at the end, and this, for the first time ever, they've got a chance to win. And Carlton has to sink this putt, though. And Carlton's nervous, and Uncle Phil says, look, Carlton, it doesn't matter. As long as, I'm just glad we got to share this together, and that's the most important thing. And Carlton says, okay, so I can just miss this and then forget about it, right? Well, we're happy. And Uncle Phil's like, I kind of need you to make the putt. it's a little bit like this. Like, yeah, no pressure, but also you don't want your legacy to be like, I took over the season 3 games to go, and then we got swept in the first round of the playoffs.
I was so close to just running over there and giving you a giant hug because you said it's like that episode of and I thought you were going to say Friends, and I was like, means in on Friends. Never. It only took 30 years.
No way.
Fresh Prince. I should have known.
The one where Amin didn't watch. All right. So Jenkins got fired with 8 games to go. Malone got fired with 3 games to go. Both of those guys were the best coaches in franchise history. So it got us to ask you the question, how many coaches in the NBA are actually unfireable?
It's a short list, man. I'm starting with the most veteran, the king of all kings, Greg Popovich.
Yes.
Obviously he hasn't coached the second half of this year, but
Pop will coach as long as he wants to.
Yes, he can do anything in that organization. Yes. Steve Kerr. You think he's fireable?
That one, I'm not so sure.
Wow.
Eric Spoelstra. I'll put Eric Spoelstra. I think we both agree Eric Spoelstra.
Yes, but only I put Kerr ahead of Spoelstra. I think anything could happen in the Miami Heat organization, but I think the main reason is because it's like a family feel. Like Pat brought this man up from the beginning. I am not just going to kick you to the curb.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, and I believe the same as well because of that and the way the Harrison family runs that organization. I don't trust Joe Lacob at all to be someone who doesn't throw a rich billionaire tantrum and says to Steve Kerr, get out of here.
Well, I will say this, like when they bought the team, the idea of that team was to meld the business side with the basketball side more than ever. And Steve Kerr was a huge proponent of that.
Yep.
And they talk about it like famously about him being just the nicest guy to everybody, to all the secretaries, to everybody that works there. And he is embodying what they want for an organization. You're saying that he's the best. His time could have run out, and he's like, all right, you're gone.
Look, Jerry West didn't end his time there. Bob Myers said, I'm good, right? Like the Joe Lacob thing,
but firing
crazy billionaire. That's a thing, man. And so, look, imagine the Jimmy Butler trade doesn't happen, and the season ends as disastrously as it looked like it was going to go. I'm not saying he would have got fired. I'm just saying.
Okay, because there's a difference there between mutual parting of ways because they couldn't get along and a firing because Golden State as a franchise was terrible reputation.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like Denver was and kind of like Memphis was before those guys got there. And kind of like
even worse.
And kind of like Sacramento was before Mike Brown got there.
Yeah.
Look, man, we're in a weird era where it's like, it's not even what have you done for me lately? It's, yeah, but I don't like the way you do it.
Right.
What? You don't like the way I do it?
It's the Dallas Mavericks saying, yeah, we've been winning, but we don't want to win this way. We want to win with healthier players.
Get out of here, man. All right, Izzy, you have been fascinated ever since our FaceTime call yesterday with the tattoos. Yeah. You talk about like, oh, Coach Malone had this Nuggets tattoo, whatever.
I've always been fascinated with tattoos from my era. And when I say my era, I mean my beat writing era, from 2000 to 2010, somewhere now. Like I mentioned that those are big, but that didn't stand out. Like I mentioned my favorite tattoo ever was Brad Miller's Scrappy Doo tattoo. Calvin Booth has one of the most, it's not confusing in the reason of it. It's confusing when you like think back and try to remember certain things. Because Calvin Booth went to Penn State.
Yes, he did.
But his name is Calvin, so he's got the Cal on his shoulder, which is the same script as Cal, like Cal Berkeley.
Yeah.
So it is, of the two tattoos that are the worst, like I think Cal's is the worst because you don't walk up to somebody and automatically know his name. Yeah. But with that tattoo, you automatically know the incorrect college that he went to.
So I think Michael Malone's one is like a little too married to one organization.
Right.
He had to have known he was going to coach there forever. I'm not saying it should have happened now. I'm just saying chances are no one coaches anywhere forever unless your name is Greg Popovich. For Calvin Booth, it's more like copyright infringement.
Yes, that's another thing. Like if you, at least it's copyright infringement and confusing because it's not your name. He should at least have an ellipses and then like a VIN on the other arm.
Yeah. Calvin Booth, by the way, former Washington Wizard, producer Hank strikes again.
Wow.
You got to squeeze it in somewhere in the show.
Everywhere.
All right, let's take a break. Headlines up next.
So that wasn't a headline? Welcome back to Oddball. I mean, before we get to headlines, I wanted to talk to you about this Luka ejection from last night. He was ejected with 7:40 remaining in the fourth quarter. It was a close game. He was chirping at a fan on the sideline. We did some research. Fan's name, Jeremy.
Taché?
No, not that one. Jer Bear, though. We can call him Jer Bear. So you can see right there, he's talking to the fan who reportedly is a fan who comes and chirps at the opponents all the time over at OKC. And you see the official JT Orr, which feels like they just gave him 5 letters and said, hey, make a name out of that. JT Orr was caught in the middle, gave him the second tech. Most people are saying, hey, it's honest mistake. Looked like he was looking right at him, what have you. To me, we're at the portion of Luka's career, if he's a superhero, he's still not at the self-awareness level. Yeah. Like he still doesn't know what his deal is because the reason he got that second tech wasn't because he was yelling at the fan that time. It's because he yells at referees all the time. And of course they're going to assume he was yelling at them. And if I'm that official, if I'm JT Orr, I'm not even apologizing. I'm like, hey, that's you. Like if anybody else on your team would have been yelling at that fan through me, I would have said, who's he talking to? You, I'm giving you that second tech.
You want to hear the funny part? So it's the second tech. He got ejected on the second technical, right? So that means he got a first technical. Do you know what the first technical was for?
Complaining to the officials?
Yeah, cussing out a ref.
Yeah.
You know which ref it was?
JT Orr. Right.
Hey, man, if somebody walk up to me and smack me, and then later on the day, I get smacked and that same person is around, I might just think, yeah, this guy's trying to smack me too many times.
But the crazy thing is Luka also had this quote after the game. He said, I've never gotten a fan ejected ever, which, by the way, I think is a shot at Russell Westbrook, who gets fans ejected all the time. But if you talk, I'm going to talk back like always.
Yeah, that's the point.
Again, self-awareness, man. You don't have to talk back. Like, it is not helping anything. In fact, it's probably only helping that fan's life because he's going to say, I got Luka ejected. It's nonsense.
Unbelievable.
That was not a headline, though. Let's get to headlines.
This is a headline. Let's get to headlines. Zoom in to Headline World. This segment is called Headlines, where Izzy and I will take you through some of the biggest headlines in the NBA. And how can I forget? Headlines is presented by Remy Martin, 1738 Accord Royal. Exceptionally smooth cognac for all your game day festivities. Please drink responsibly. All right. Ja Morant unveils new celebration. It's called Global Thermonuclear War. You can't find me for that.
Listen, he dropped a grenade, right? He threw a grenade.
Oh my God.
I've been saying this forever, Amin. Just pick a different weapon, man. America has a gun problem. Yes, we get it. We don't want you to point guns, whatever. Yep. But if you did like a bazooka.
We don't have a bazooka problem.
Right?
We don't have a bazooka problem.
Or whatever happened to the bow and arrows?
Oh, bow and arrows.
Just do more bow and arrows.
We used to have a bow and arrow problem back in the 1800s. Not so much.
Okay, right.
Right? But not after the Trail of Tears.
I thought it was a genius move. But
no, I was surprised how many people were upset. I'm like, no, man, like I'm with this. I'm with him unveiling a different kind of weapon, like maybe a ninja star next up. Right. Like whatever it is, just to point out how ridiculous this is. Because again, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make a rule that's specific to just one person in the NBA.
Maybe even just entering a code like you're putting on a bomb or
global
something.
Thermonuclear. I want him to break the thing open, put the key in.
Oh, but it's two keys. Desmond Bain has to do it with him.
Oh my God.
That's what it is.
Where's my camera? Ja, look at me. You, either Desmond Bain or maybe get Scottie Pippen Jr. Y'all do this. Like you put keys in, turn the keys, and then you break open the code, and then you enter the code.
And then Zach Edey goes, big mushroom cloud.
That's a celebration right there.
All right, where's my camera?
Okay.
Me? All right. More Memphis news. Grizzlies rookie Jalen Wells took an ugly spill in the game against the Hornets Tuesday night. He did break his wrist, but fortunately, after the fall, was wide awake and alert, which is more than you can say for anyone in Charlotte Spectrum Center. I mean, at this point, I'd buy a $4 ticket there just to go take a nap. Okay, you got a full section to yourself. It actually sounds kind of lovely.
Izzy.
Okay, you're right. $2.
Wait, how much do you think a not upper level ticket costs? Lower bowl.
Ooh, I think you get that for 2 digits. I think you probably get that for like $45.
$45?
Like, I'm talking like really
like
good
10
seats.
rows off the floor.
Yeah, definitely.
Denver Nuggets fire Mike Malone. What the hell? Like, how is that? I'm still stuck on this as a story. Mm-hmm. How is that where we land with Michael Malone? Like, you look at the Nuggets, and yes, they haven't been as great as one would like, but you say, I know who the problem is. This guy.
You know, sometimes I've wondered about that. Like, why do we need a whole different insurance just for our teeth and our eyes? Like, that's very confusing to me.
Because different doctors.
Yeah, I know, but we have different doctors for my feet as opposed to my head, but it's all under the same insurance. Anyway, next headline. On Monday, my Florida Gators won their 3rd men's basketball national championship, forcing a lot of people to assess the NBA future of most outstanding player, Walter Clayton Jr. To be totally honest, I'm not sure if I'd draft a Walter Clayton Jr. either. But if he was Clayton Walters II, top 5. That's easy, guaranteed.
Are we past juniors? Are we post junior now?
I think Gary Payton the second probably ruined it.
We're all about the seconds and the fourths. Ricky Council the 4th.
Yes.
Right, Lonnie Walker the 4th. Give me numbers.
That's it for this week's headlines.
It's time for Hot Streak. Hot Streak is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings. It all has offered throughout the show. DraftKings, crown is yours.
Oh yeah.
All right. Last week we picked Bulls against the Thunder.
It was a big number. 50. It was not big enough.
I mean, come on. Jesus Christ, man. The Thunder destroyed them. They won by 28 points. So we got to get a new streak going. All right, here are the games.
There's only one game to choose from right here.
Lakers
we got to choose between Lakers and Mavs. And it's going to be the most interesting game ever.
Didn't we pick this one? Or that was the other one that we picked?
I think it was the first time they played. It wasn't the first time in Dallas. This is the time in Dallas, and it's going to be the strangest thing. They have this T-shirt that they say in Slovenian, thanks for everything, that they're handing out to everybody in the stands. They're basically just going to give him an ovation every time he touches the ball, even though he's the enemy now. I don't know how this is going to go, but I think the Lakers are going to run away with this.
4.5 point favorites. You don't think he's going to be nervous at all?
Not at all. And LeBron's been there. He's been in the comeback game. You know, the Heat players had his back. He's definitely going to have Luka's back. Not that, again, that's necessary because it's going to feel like a home game for Luka again.
All right. I guess we're picking Lakers.
Lakers minus 4.5.